the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight, and we talk about guns for an hour. And we've got people jumping in from the gunchannels.com community, and we've got people jumping in from all over the place. So we've got Al jumping in from Texas. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. Ballistics jumping in from Georgia. Long time no see. Nice to have good to see you back.
Thanks for hosting.
You bet. Dead Horse up in Utah. Were you just saying it was 2 degrees below zero this morning?
Yep. It's cold as hell.
Well, hopefully we're keeping you warm by keeping you moving. Then we got Gary jumping in from Kansas.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
You bet. Thanks for jumping in. Dano jumping in from Illinois.
Yep, I was reminded that I'm glad to be alive, so thank you, Al, for that encouragement.
Got Night Strike joining from South Carolina.
Yep, thanks for the invite.
Always. And then Woods jumping in from Pacific Northwest, or I guess Washington.
Thanks for the invite, G.
Always. I'm down here in Arizona, and what do we got? 2, 4, 6. There's room for 2 more. There's a bunch of links out there. So this is a conversation that we have each night about guns. And ideally, we keep it off of politics so that we're not just reiterating some of the stuff that gets disseminated from big media. And we try to amplify new media efforts, be part of the new media. So people that are in the text chats out there are part of the show. And normally on Thursdays we talk about training or CCW topics, but we've got a bunch of people in here today. I'm sure we can just throw it up with that and see where do we want to start this one. Okay, dead air. Didn't expect that. It's like one of them trust falls and I just hit the ground.
Oh, I've been looking for a new carry gun, so there you go.
What do we got?
Well, I think it's the 43. This was my main pick for a while. I used to carry my 34, my Glock 34. I sold it recently because I wasn't shooting it. It was just too big that I wasn't carrying it. So if I can get a 43, and then the 43X came out. I don't know about that yet. I might wait, see how that does, or see if that drops the price of a regular 43 and do that.
That's quite a change in footprint.
Yeah, it is.
You don't care about the single stack part of it?
No, not around here.
And then, you're just like that slim part of it attracts you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a 43 as well as a couple other of the blocky Glocks. And for depending on how you dress, the 43 can really fit in nice when it's like really hot, or you need to dress a slightly different way than what you normally dress.
Yeah. I'm thinking of good places like church too. I can wear it underneath the dress shirt or whatever.
It's really. I mean, I've worn it to parties. I've worn it to all places that normally I would be hesitant to carry in.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't have a 43 anymore, but I've got a 42, and people don't notice it.
Yeah, very, very, very similar guns, 42, 43.
They don't notice my Glock 26 that I carry every day, even with a 15-round mag in it. I got a 19 mag in it. People don't notice anything.
I don't think people even noticed my 34 when I was carrying an appendix, but I definitely noticed it.
The average person doesn't. They don't even know that another person is standing there, let alone whether they have a gun under their shirt. They don't notice anything.
Yeah, I always carry in summertime. I normally carry my 26. In the wintertime, I carry my 19, and then the 43 can be any time of year if I have to dress a little different.
Yeah, 43 would probably be my year-round carry gun, but I was talking earlier off-air chats about I've been thinking about getting a 10mm carry when I go out hunting and stuff like that.
What I like about the little single stacks is if you get a little slim inside the waistband holster, you can put it back there in the 4 o'clock position, and no one will notice it for real. Even if they're looking, they're not going to notice one of those little single stacks inside the waistband. Outside, they may still notice, but inside, nope, it goes away.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
you guys think
a situation where nobody's going to be touching you, like little kids coming up to you say, "Oh, Uncle Morty," you know, that sort of thing.
you guys think the 43X is going to be similar in price point to the 43 when it came out, or a little bit more?
I would think it'll probably be the standard Glock, $500.
Yeah. Well, the 43s were like what? I don't know what they were when they came out, but I know they're like around 430, 450.
Yeah, they're a little less, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which I think is a little overpriced. But I mean, it's not that much. It's like $50, but I think it should be more like 375, 400.
And the 43X did make a lot of sense to me since there's already pre-existing mag extensions to carry 1 or 2 or 3 more rounds if that's what you want for the 43 and the 42. So the 43X is kind of like, what was the point?
Yeah, it's kind of just like an afterthought. It's like only give people like me maybe who don't even have a 43.
Yeah,
so,
for a problem that's already been solved.
Right, because that's what I was going to do. I was just going to get 43 with extensions. And I may still do that if the 43X will drop prices on 43s.
And then why the hell they decided to change the type of magazine configuration is beyond my comprehension.
What they do?
You cannot take a 43X magazine and put it in a 43.
Yeah, because it's like a stack and a half.
Right.
Yeah, because they're trying to get those extra rounds. They don't like the fact that SIG beat them as far as mag capacity. They hate it.
So you figure that's because people buy, you know, like based off the metric or like perception, I got to have this many rounds? Or do you think, like,
well, that 365, everyone compares it in size to the Glock 43 because that's roughly what size it is. And then there's always the but, and it might as well be in bold print. They say, but it holds 10 rounds where the Glock holds 6, and that's a big deal. And I think that finally it wore on them, and they had to make something because they gave up that slot. They had it for a little while. That 43 being like, it was kind of like the go-to small 9mm. It was like kind of the standard, and the SIG is now the standard as far as what's popular now. And they kind of they caused them to do something different. Whether it makes a difference, I don't know.
Niche, for that single stack niche, I would agree with you.
My buddy, who is not really a SIG fan, man, he was looking at that 365, was looking at it, and he called me, asked me if anybody had one. My buddy at the gun shop over here had one, and he gave him a good price. He zipped over and got it, and he told me, he said it's a game changer. He said it shoots very good, and it holds, you know, because it comes with a 12-round mag too. You know, so now you're in essentially a single stack gun that holds up to 12 rounds. You're like, I mean, that's a lot of firepower in a very small package. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
So definitely caught my eye too. It was just the problems they've been having with it. The only thing keeping me from seriously considering buying one. But yeah, it is a game changer.
So I don't really pay attention to when you guys talk about little tiny guns. Obviously, I don't pay attention to little 9mm guns and the different like differences between them all because I'm not in the market, right? So this is my chat, so I'm listening a little bit more than you would. Let me ask it, since I'm like basically oblivious. I know that they've started making smaller, narrower guns to compete with each other, and I'm assuming people keep buying them, so they keep making them. But has somebody made like just a quick bullet point type of video to explain the evolution? Because the last I really paid attention, the 26 was the small gun. Has there been something to start talking about like the evolution of the different brands and the competition between them, and then just kind of make it all bullet points and easy to deal with?
Well, I mean, the single stacks have gotten very, very popular. The little single stacks and stack and a halves. You know, where they just offset them slightly, but they get like 3 more rounds in a mag, but they're not quite as wide as a 26. They're kind of in between. They have figured out a little bit.
I'm thinking back to like the forum days when it was different guns. Obviously, they were 25s probably and 32s, and they would take like pictures of them in real size because these were small guns. They could put them in real size, but then they would like superimpose them over each other, and everybody would start to, you know, get into all the minutia about which one has a sight that might snag on something or which one is a little bit wider. And I'm just wondering if somebody's done that with the modern little narrow 9s, so that if I was interested, I could just, you know, get them all and figure them out quickly without having to watch all different kind of videos. Like SIG and on Glock and on whoever else is making them.
I don't think anybody's done anything like that.
Yeah, I've not seen anything. I think it would be incredibly informative to have something like that,
Mhm.
but I've not seen it.
Okay.
Comparing them in one shot to the next, or put them overlaying each other, I think that would be good, because that resource isn't out there for people.
Yeah, including like an officer size 1911 that's supposed to be very small.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to me,
that's where the single stack, small guns really started, of significant capacity, or significant caliber, excuse me.
I understand what you guys are talking about. I mean, I know guns. I know it. I've shot similar enough guns. I pretty much know what you're talking about. But but I see it as just a bunch of vegetable soup when you guys are talking. I'm not absorbing it. So I'm assuming somebody who's coming into it without having any, experience with guns, they're probably seeing it the same way. And that might be a way for them to figure out, okay, if I buy something in this realm of the chart or whatever, then, now I'm buying something in the caliber or the width or the capacity that, I'm really looking for. Instead of having to figure out like what every Glock is, then what every SIG is. Because everybody's repeating effort with that, right? Because SIG isn't any better than Glock coming up with numbers, right? They don't mean anything about the gun, right?
Right.
All right, well, there's a pause. I was going to ask Ballistic, you used to do, and I'm guessing you're probably going to go back to doing some competition shooting at some point. But I don't remember what it was he did.
You may have just stepped away from the mic.
Oh, okay. Well, it applies to anybody who's done any kind of competition or planning to do any. Now that you're talking these narrow, small, I would call them pocket nines. I don't know how you guys are carrying them. But would you ever go to a competition and shoot that small gun that you're actually carrying? But instead of going to a competition and shooting like, typical competition guns, bigger gun, shooting something small just to get some experience.
I think they, in like IDPA, don't they offer like a backup gun class?
Yeah, it's a bug class.
I know it's easier in IDPA, but there's like some sub competitions or non-national level competitions where like a range will do like a backup gun class or something, or a competition. Oh, silence, everybody.
I'm not sure what your question was exactly.
Oh, I was asking if you would consider taking a class or a competition, going to a shoot and shooting the small gun that you actually carry, the little narrow 9, as opposed to like the big double stack 40 or whatever knocks down steel better.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to spare the expense and the time to take a class, they should take the firearm that they actually carry, not the one that sits in the safe.
Not a class, sorry, a competition. Like if you're,
okay.
If they're going to IDPA or IPSC, are they going to take an actual gun that they might carry, to get some experience shooting that gun in some scenarios?
I think the problem with shooting it in competition would be mag capacity. Unless everyone was relegated down to a small mag, like you'd be stuck with in a backup gun. Yeah. I think it would that would probably be the determining factor. As far as shooting it, I mean, it's would you want to go compete against somebody with a larger gun, with the sights being further apart and the sight radius and a larger capacity? No, I don't think you would at all. But if it was apples to apples, yeah. But the mag capacity is going to get you, because if you have to shoot a certain amount of rounds, you don't want to have to do 5 mag changes when somebody else could do 4 or 3.
Oh yeah, I guess I just assumed you'd take a hit in points. I guess that's sort of the reason I was asking. Is it worth taking the hit, or taking like going to a different competition and just not caring about the points just to get the scenario? Because I think IDPA, the scenarios are like you're washing your hands and then something happens and you got to come out of the stall. Like, they have some actual moving around and drawing from, alternate ways and stuff.
But how many rounds do you shoot?
I honestly don't pay attention. I'm one of these guys. I just show up for IDPA matches whenever I did them back in the day. And I would intentionally barely listen to the commands. And then I would just run with my normal carry setup. So it was just really for me just to run a scenario. So I would have my normal extra mag in my gun. So I don't even, I'm sure it was at the bottom of the things, because I would go slow and I'd sucked at it and I wasn't good at shooting stuff.
But it's excellent training.
Yeah, and I think that probably the other guys got mad at me. Like they probably didn't like me because I'm not anywhere near as fast as them. And I mean, at least I tape targets and stuff. You know, at least I'm carried my weight that way, I think. All right, well, that was a couple of topics I had. Any other training or CCW topics? Got a bunch of people in here.
Actually, I have a question. Since it is kind of the beginning of the year and a lot of people have been talking about things they plan on doing in this coming year, is there anybody that either is planning on or would like to take a particular class during 2019? And if so, what is it?
I just signed my daughter and me up for intro to handguns because she really, I mean, she's my stepdaughter. She hasn't really shot. I just bought her a gun for Christmas, so figured I'd at least start there. And I asked this question in other chats, and I think it's a really good idea for her to learn some firearms from not her dad.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yes.
And it's not that you couldn't teach her, but you just said it right there at the end, from someone that's not her dad. Because sometimes kids will just put up a wall and not listen, but they would listen to the exact same thing for somebody else.
And it's not just kids; it's also wives who they just, if they hear it from a stranger, they'll believe it. They hear the same thing from their husband or their dad, and they never heard it before.
And then you're there learning the same info, and you don't act like you don't know, but you're just like, oh, well, you know, that's a good point. And then you guys are learning together, and it just sinks in 100%.
Yeah, because it's more important that they get the information than me getting credit as a teacher.
Yep. And then when they go out there and they realize that, oh, you know what, this is fun. This is pretty, you know, this is good. And then next thing you know, you might have a shooting buddy that wants to go to the range with you.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm trying to get her into it, but not give her pressure because, you know, kids, like, as soon as the dad wants them to do it, then sometimes they don't want to do that. I want her to choose it.
It's like no big deal. If you like guns, you can have any guns you want. It's no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just like anything else. I mean, my youngest boy plays baseball, and I ask him every season because they haven't done anything since Thanksgiving. I said, well, you know, practice starts Friday night. I said, do you want to play this year? He's like, yep. You know, because you don't want to force them, but you want to encourage them. It's kind of a tightrope, you know, because if once you force something on somebody, then they just back up and don't want to do it at all. So it's the same thing with the shooting. Let me give you every opportunity. Let me talk you into coming and doing this class. I mean, we're going to have fun. I mean, you might have to talk them into doing that because a lot of times they're just apprehensive because they're worried that it's no matter how much you say it's going to be entry level, they always think that, you know, we're going to have to do things that I can't do, and they don't want to be embarrassed. And it doesn't matter how much you tell them that it's going to be very basic. They're going to think that, and that's a good way to get them into it without you forcing them, you know, or pushing it on them.
Mm-hmm. So anybody else have anything necessarily planned for 2019 in regards to training?
Nate says he's thinking in 2020 to go to Valor Ridge and Bear Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
What's Bear Solutions? Kicking the ass out.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's Bear Solutions?
I have not heard of it.
Anybody else then?
No
go ahead.
I was just saying no idea.
Hopefully, I'll be able to take a emergency action medical class. I'd like to take this year. I don't know if it can happen or not, but that's if I do take a class, that is going to be the class.
What do those run?
What class?
Emergency action medical. They're typically 2 days long.
Immediate action medical or something like that.
Right. Sometimes there's variations of that name.
So it's like a trauma class?
Yes.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Burns, lacerations, whether they're extremities or collapsed lung, airway obstructions.
I've been to that exact class you're describing twice. Over here in the East Coast, they call it and it's sponsored by the National Guard. It's a tactical emergency casualty care class. I highly suggest it. You are going to really understand how important some of this stuff is and getting it stopped quick. That's an excellent class to go to, especially if you shoot. Excellent.
Yeah, I've heard it, and I guess I'm kind of viewing it is if we're going to take upon us the responsibility of potentially making holes, we ought to take upon the responsibility of being able to help if on the other side of the equation after it's over, and provide that immediate help until the true professionals arrive and can truly apply the tools that we don't necessarily have on us.
Well, I think the better benefit would be what if something happens while you're at the range,
or at the mall,
or if you're the victim if you're the person that solves it and you've had to shoot someone. I don't know about necessarily rendering aid. You do what you have to do, but you have to make sure they're not a threat. But I would be more concerned about my friends or family or innocence than I would.
Right. You may not necessarily even be involved in that portion of the fight. Let's say you're involved in the after portion because you were at the other end of the hall when you heard something go boom. Okay,
I got you now.
But I think Dano's also saying the training and the knowledge is something that applies in a car wreck or in
it absolutely does.
Yes.
And they're getting that out to school now. Just look up Stop the Bleed. You can just search those words. It's sponsored by Homeland Security. And they're trying to get this training out there. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, but they're getting this out there to schools. They don't want to think about them being the victim of some sort of mass casualty situation, but they could be. And now what are you going to do? Most of these people that get harmed in a shooting or something of that nature, they slowly bleed to death. Slowly.
All right.
Where a tourniquet, even with the least amount of training, can dramatically raise the chances of survival.
Hold on.
Even if you do it wrong. If you do it wrong. If you do it right, their odds of surviving.
Stop. Please stop.
Yes.
All right. We're going into mansplaining, and I'm not going to allow it. So I'm the what do you call it? The host. I also was a nationally registered EMT back in the day, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're talking about here. So I guess I'm going to go backwards. When you're talking about Stop the Bleed, I can't agree more. I recommend going to Stop the Bleed. I cannot disagree more that you should use anything about a mass murder at a school to talk about it. It has nothing to do with that. If it applies, that's awesome, but it has a much bigger application in the world, and that is that you have 3 ways you can die: from lack of air, lack of blood, all right, and other stuff. So blood is the main one. And a tourniquet is definitely not the first thing you need to worry about. The first thing you can do is apply direct pressure, and then you can pack a bleeding wound with lots of things, and a tourniquet is a third resort. But it's only applicable on an extremity, and there's lots of other wounds. Stop the Bleed is going to teach them how to stop the bleeding by direct pressure and packing a wound and then a tourniquet, but it's going to empower them to know how to stop someone from bleeding, which in the movies they either joke about or they exaggerate it. It's as bad as anything to do with guns.
Who was joking?
Huh?
I wasn't joking.
No, I know, but you got into tourniquets, and I didn't want to leave it with just as if tourniquets was the first option or the only option. It was
no. If I said that, I didn't mean to, but there's a lot of training.
Stop. It was just omission, and I wanted to include the direct pressure and the packing the wound, because that's literally all the Stop the Bleed class is. And like you said, it's free. You can not only go to one, you can organize one, you can initiate one, and be part of teaching other people. And it's definitely as good as going to CPR. You can get stuck with a knife or fall off of something and get injured. A penetrating wound is, has nothing to do with gunshots. So I don't think there's any reason. And in fact, I would suggest there's probably reason not to bring up anything about guns, because guns are just one of the things that, with rifles, less than 300 bullets perforate a person. We know that lethally. There's a whole bunch of accidents, but lethally 300 times a year. When we're talking blunt instruments and fence posts and rocks and stuff, we're talking about many multitudes more. So let's not scare anybody or bring guns even into it. But let's say that it's definitely great information to empower people with, and the Stop the Bleed is a good one. So let's keep going backwards from that. Dana was talking about going to a first aid class, and then we got to totally different things. If you're talking about going to a trauma class, I think
he was talking about going to the casualty care. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, the trauma, like immediate action medical, a trauma class, as opposed to a Red Cross first aid class, or even a Red Cross wilderness first aid, which are going to be completely different focus. Trauma first aid, or like the one you were talking about with the military or police, are going to be immediate, and they're going to be mostly bleeding. They're not going to worry too much about airway, other ways to open the airway, and they're definitely not going to get into things past shock, because they're about immediate stuff where you got ambulances on the way and stuff. Some of those are good, and some of those touch the edges. And that's all I'm going to leave it with, is that do your homework, and depending on what level you want to get into it, there are some that can go farther than what I've experienced with paramedic or with EMT school. And there's some of them that talk about a bunch of stuff, but there's a huge difference. Think about if someone just talked to you about shooting a rifle, and then another class included shooting a rifle and getting some feedback from the shots that you got to fire. There would be such a difference in those two classes. I want you to understand that there's that big a difference in some first aid classes. Some of them will tell you a bunch of stuff, and some of them will make you deal with the stuff in a real way, the same way that a really good fighting pistol class will make you question if you really want to take on the responsibility of carrying a firearm. A really good medical class will make you think hard if you really want to jump up and say you're qualified. It'll challenge you to your skills instead of just encouraging you that you can do more than you might be able to. So I just wanted to throw that out there with medical, because I think it's important. So often we just talk about classes as if they're all the same. And I just happen to have some insight there that first aid classes are tremendously different. I've experienced quite a few, not as much as my firearms classes, but from what I've experienced, some of them, again, are frosting, and some of them are just almost, like I say, even more in depth in the places that it need to be than EMT classes. All right, that's my soapbox on tactical training, or on immediate action medical. But I think Dano's got a good point that it's worth taking. Has anybody else considered taking it at all? You're usually talking, like you said, 2 days and hundreds of bucks.
Do we get how much that runs, or like what the price breakdown for the different classes are, Dano?
I've seen classes run from about $500 for 2 days. I've also seen classes that are only 1 day, but I think they can obviously only get into so much actually hands-on, let alone explaining within 1 day, that are lower in price. So it depends on how deep into the pool you're looking to get, and how much obviously time and money you have available to put towards it. And you don't necessarily have to go to the deep end of the pool first time out either. At least in my opinion. I mean, if you just want to test like I've taken the Red Cross classes, and so I know some of what they have to offer, which was, I was looking for a much deeper level of knowledge and a much deeper level of hands-on. That's why I've been looking at classes that I don't have to drive 500 miles to go to, that offer a good level of depth. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I'd like to look into it, because I mean, as a teacher, I have to take. Well, I choose to take first aid every other year, just because you need a lot of people that we got 500 kids and whatnot. But very excited, very very interested in finding out more. But maybe not all the way down to the 500 level. But any little bit helps, I think.
The Red Cross or whatever used to have a wilderness one, or I guess it was called wilderness, and that would be a little bit more in depth, and then like how to splint something as opposed to just how to mobilize it.
I wonder if that's currently only offered in certain states, because I know that specifically was not listed anywhere in the state that I'm at.
Oh, interesting. Maybe, yeah, if there's no, like, that's the kind of thing, like, how many wilderness areas are there in that area? I'm not sure. But you'd think they'd have it just for general knowledge, and people travel, obviously.
I mean, I was the only person in my Red Cross class that was not required to be there for their job.
Well, and then, well, in the Red Cross classes I've taken in the past, there's been like a lot of moms, and babysitters and stuff that'll take it just to know stuff.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that more people don't take those types of training or education because it is the not sexy, not hot, not cool thing to do. That's why it doesn't necessarily get the butts in the class that it probably should, as compared to other types of whiz bang classes.
So besides medical, anybody else got anything else they're looking at on the horizon?
So you mentioned Red Cross. They either are about to start. I didn't find it on their website, and I don't have the information in front of me, but they're going to be doing a penetrating wound course, which from what I remember reading about, it is very similar to something you might do for gunshots or stabbing, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I'll definitely look into that because when I asked the instructor about gunshots, and they said, no, we don't cover that. Okay, then I said, what about severe perforations that go through my arm and out the other end? I mean, it was playing words, but that's what I had to do to try to get an answer out of this person.
Yeah, this is very recent. I'm talking like in the past month. And again, I don't have the information in front of me. I'll try to see if I can find it.
Yeah, if you stumble upon that, that'd be great if you could post that over on Gun Channels.
Sure.
Well, if I had time, I would take some training in Java, the scripting that it sounds like at least Androids use for apps and stuff. Try to get a grasp on the nuts and bolts of that.
Anytime you want to get started.
Yeah, I know. I've got a couple of people like Al that are kind of chomping at the bit. Anybody else looking at any other non-gun stuff like that? All right.
Turn back the clock just for a moment, G-Webs. You had a question. I think Caleb might be back now.
So I was asking before with that narrow 9mm or whatever you end up getting as far as like is it a pocket gun or just belt gun?
No, I have a Raven Concealment makes a appendix. Well, I guess you put it anywhere inside the waistband. It's just like a simple trigger guard holster.
So I was wondering if you're going to consider taking a gun to shoot any competition with that instead of a competition gun in order to get some experience with the scenarios and stuff.
Probably not. I might shoot a still challenge match with it. That's not like courses. That's, just standing still, shooting as fast as you can, hitting all the targets. But I'll probably just shoot it in the backyard mostly.
When you were shooting, was it IDPA or IPSC?
IPSC. I'm about to start again, hopefully, next month or March. I've been shooting more still challenge, though. I'm trying to balance it between the still matches and the USPSA IPSC match.
Is that stuff seasonal?
No, not here.
Just you jump in and shoot, and then
most of the shooters are seasonal though, like me, because you shoot like crap and you go out and shoot in 30-degree weather, so there's no point,
But the matches are just going constantly. You just jump in and shoot when you can.
No, you gotta be there for registration. It's all a set time. Of course, you get a lot of cancellations, in January and December, maybe even February, depending on the weather. The match directors will cancel the match, but they have them year round, unless it's close to a holiday. So some of them will close for that too in December. Yeah, I'm about to get my new reloading setup going, hopefully, here in the next few months. And shoot consistently again.
So I don't know if anybody out there's got any questions they throw out here. Has anybody missed any questions? You guys are talking about life of emergency services That's always interesting. I don't think we have enough in here. It's just Sarge. Has anybody else ever done any kind of occupation or volunteer anything with having to deal with EMT or paramedic or police?
I just said that because Snob's wife had some commentary about dispatching and hearing and seeing some things.
You
Working
definitely
on an ambulance.
you get to a different level, right? Where it's just, you're not like numb, but you just see stuff differently because you see it every day and at different extremes, right?
Yeah. She was talking about working with the EMS and working on an ambulance and seeing some crazy stuff.
I haven't done anything. I never really pursued my EMT. I got the training because it would help me finish my degree or whatever. And, you know, I figured it was an interesting elective. And as I pursued it and did the ride-alongs and stuff, I think those are useful because I figured it wasn't the career I wanted to end up with. So I never really worked at it. But when I was a kid, I did have a job where I ended up having to find dead people. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, it's just a whole different thing when you're, you know, I've just never been into like horror movies and stuff. Just experiencing that stuff in real life, it's just not appealing to mock it, or I don't know. Do you guys get that, or is it the other way around?
Well, I just I didn't realize how much these people did. You know, I didn't. You know, you're sheltered from it, like you said. If you're not into that, and if you've been fortunate and never had to deal with any of that, when you have to, it's an eye-opening experience.
Oh, didn't mean to bring the chat down. I guess that was probably a bad road to go down. So they're saying they lost the audio. Is anybody having trouble? We can all hear each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you fine.
I hear you.
We're being shadow banned on YouTube, I guess.
No.
We can't hear anything on the gun.
Anyone have any tips on how to prepare, you know, for the mindset for an emergency situation? Because, you know, let's face it, most of us don't deal with like blood and guts every day, right? That's not our everyday thing, like for the majority of people, right? And it can be pretty traumatizing even when you're not the one wounded or anything, just trying to deal with you know, a gushing wound or something like that, right? How can you prepare mentally for something like that? What's a good way to, you know, besides all the training where they teach you the techniques and stuff like that on how to deal with that, what about mentally?
Well, mentally, there's no way to prepare other than a class like just Dana was taking that takes the scenarios to a little bit different level to make them as realistic as possible. And that, other than that, that's about it.
Seriously, I think, you know, you can learn as much as you can to be comfortable and like understand the various things you might encounter, and then obviously experience changes everything, but that's tough. You can't, I don't know.
Well, and I've heard of people getting sick or fainting at the sight of blood, right? Just like a little tiny drop of blood, they faint and stuff like that. Like, how do people who have who are squeamish, I guess is the word I'm looking for, like how do you even get people like that to even think about stuff? Like how would they even start to go about it if that's just not their thing, if they're really squeamish?
Are you allowed to say go out hunting? Process the game?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, it's at least you understand biology if you haven't done it in school or whatever.
I think part of it is the individual psychology of that individual person, is being able to take that part of your emotional self, set it aside, do what needs to be done, and deal with that other stuff afterwards.
Being able to take that part. Somebody's getting it. Looks like it's back now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, what Daniel was saying, you pretty much got to compartmentalize. Which,
Good. I just wanted to ask that question while we were, you know, with
Okay.
no audio. So
Not that you're saying that. So Dead Horse's question was, is there a way to practice for the immediate action situation where somebody's bleeding or there's a situation where you have to react quickly, you know, to prevent loss of life? And we didn't have a great answer, I don't think. But that made me think, as Dana was talking, that when I was a kid, I was in scouts, and I don't know how many other scouts are in here. The way the scouts were when I was a kid, you'd be in a troop, and then that troop was in a district, and then the districts were in a state. I think there might have been another level, but basically the troops were in churches or schools or wherever, and they might be, I don't know, 20 kids, let's say. And every once in a while, maybe quarterly, I guess, the council, so maybe a group of like 20 troops would get together. I guess depends on where you lived and how populated the councils were. The council would have a first aid meet, and we would show up as a troop, and we'd compete in scenarios with other troops in how we were able to, assess and then treat whatever the casualties were. And it wasn't in a really gory way. I mean, it was for kids, and since I don't know if you're familiar with scouts, but you're going to have kids from, I don't know how little we were, whenever you got out of Weeblo as you're a little kid, and when you're older, you're like almost 18. And, so you've got a range of kids from that age. So the scenarios are appropriate, but they were certainly useful for empowering us to like get used to the concept of having to think on our feet with something that, is kind of, I guess, stored knowledge that you have to bring to bear real quick. I don't know if anybody's ever done those first aid meets before.
I haven't, but a lot of municipalities, county government, city, state, whatever, have mass casualty drills, and they will advertise for victims. That's the only thing I can think of, outside of actually taking a course that's somewhat like what you're talking about.
I tried to do it one time. No, well, let me ask, nobody else was a scout, or nobody else ever heard of that, or had friends that were scouts that talked about it?
I certainly had friends that were scouts that talked about it. But I was in a different organization called the Indian Guides, which was similar to that, but it wasn't as good. I mean, it was something that just the Catholic Church came up with because, being the Catholic kid. But I remember doing first aid as a kid, and I remember it did teach us that you have to take immediate action. And I think there is a bunch of that stuff that I learned as a kid that I probably still use today.
Did any of us learn first aid or anything in school at all?
I learned first aid in Explorers, but it was taught a little bit differently. We had a course on basic first aid, like the typical, like, okay, if a baby's choking, how do you kind of resuscitate the baby? Person is choking, what do you do if you have a wound next to a vein that's basically can cause you bleeding and die? What do you do? Do you have a belt? Do you use it? And there was another part of the course that we did as explorers was during a random scenario, it could be code 9 or traffic stop. They would say, okay, the suspect is armed and you get shot in the shoulder. You're not able to use your right hand, and you're right-handed. So what do you do in that situation if you don't have a backup, that type of thing? After we learned that course, it was kind of like a 2-part series. Explorers are basically like Boy Scouts, but a different branch, I guess.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I guess I'm the most recent one out of the school system, and I can tell you that we learned 0. So.
Yeah, for us, it was kind of interesting because we would after we learned the basics, they would tell us, okay, you get shot in the shoulder, you don't have time to respond, you don't have backup. Right now, the suspect looks like he's gonna run. What do? You shot back, so you need to reload. What do you do?
Right. You know, like the police explorer programs that like local county, all sheriff's offices will do.
Yeah, like over here, PDs typically do it. The police
department. Yeah, they do this around here a lot too. I wish I would have known about it when I was that age.
I did it for 4 years and I loved it, all of it, because basically it would be grinder for 2 hours, then go to class for an hour, and then whatever we're learning on that hour in class, we go out and we, put it forward. We do a scenario. So that's what I did. It was cool. I loved it, every minute of it.
So I don't know if we're even broadcast. Adam says that it's happening nationwide for Hangouts. So
Yeah, well, I've got my phone on and an earphone in my ear, and I haven't heard audio in over 5 minutes. Like I say, it kind of comes and goes.
Because we can hear each other, there is the potential possibility that later on, after that's fixed, that this is still being recorded, just not rebroadcast back out.
Now it's back.
And it's like at real time, like we're saying this and it's happening. It's not catching up or something.
Right.
Okay.
It just kind of cuts out for like 5 minutes at a time. It
So-
just cut out again.
Well, we'll just keep going then, because those as soon as I just renamed the show First Aid Training Stop the Bleed. So I linked to the organization that Sarge mentioned, Stop the Bleed. So Sarge, you've taken one of these courses already?
I've taken the Tactical Emergency Casualty Care twice.
Right on. Is that anything that civilians can get into?
It's sponsored by the National Guard, and some other places put it on individually, and it's not just for first responders. It's because everyone's a first responder in some type of event. I was a couple people that went. One guy was he's a volunteer at a shooting range, so that's why he did it, because a lot of times they don't realize you don't have time to wait on help to arrive, because, and just like we were saying before, I mean, you could have an incident with a lawnmower, with a chainsaw, with any type of accident around the house. But the one thing they're trying to get into schools, and that because they've done this recently in our local school system, and to stop the bleed in a more larger scale. Yes, the individual, but trying to get them in a larger scale, which gets people to realize, and they actually open themselves up to the training. So
No,
yes, I have done them, and they're great.
Do you think they do that like classroom? They don't do it like in an auditorium. That's like classroom.
Well, the Tactical Emergency Casualty Care is in and outside. It's in a classroom, and then it's outside where you have to do drills where they have dummies set up with arteries and veins that you have to plug wounds. They have other different scenarios where they put wounds inside of things, and you have to pack it till you get down to the artery and stop the actual bleeding. You have to decompress the chest. You have to go in between ribs. They use animal ribs, but you have to go in between ribs and deflate a chest. They what is it, a tension pneumothorax? But they teach you about all that. They expose you to it and give you some good general knowledge that you can choose to go further with. But you could definitely help prolong someone's life if something very unfortunate happened to them until help got there. You could definitely do some good.
Yeah, I really like that concept of that. You go to, at least from my experience, you go to EMT school for like 6 months, and a whole chunk of that is stuff that has no applicable use to regular life, hospital stuff and other things. So the nuts and bolts of it come down to stuff like you're talking about, and you don't need to experience all that other stuff. There's not really that much context. I mean, when you're talking about saving a life, the concept of stop and bleed is all there is, and all the other stuff you learn in there is kind of inconsequential, because who cares about attorneys and all that when you're an actual first responder, or if it's
there's more to it. Just like you said, airway. I mean, if you can't breathe, there's no point in any of this. The bleeding is secondary to the airway, because what's it matter if you keep all of a person's blood in them if they're not breathing? They're not going to last very long right there. So there's more aspects to it. That's for sure.
So I got a question for you, Sarge. I'm looking. I put the link in the side chat at the bleedingcontrol.org as a listing of the classes, and it looks like they're all over the U.S. for the most part. And this is a link that goes to all the classes currently on the schedule for 2019. what sort of things would I not get out of this class in regards to immediate action medical? So I had realistic expectations.
This one is what it is. It stopped the bleed. The first one that you talked about, I don't know what the name of it was, but like I said, the name of the one I went to is the Tactical Emergency Casualty Care. The one that you were talking about, everything you mentioned, they might as well be a mirror of each other. Everything you mentioned is the same thing there's in these other classes. This control the bleed looks like it would be one small portion of what you would get out of the big class.
Right. Versus going into airway obstructions and collapse lung. And
what would be the downside to going to both? Absolutely nothing, because this one's free. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going to a second one. Nothing.
Oh no, it's advantageous too, because it's just like any other kind of training. Once you see how one person approaches it, and then you get to see it from another person's approach, you get to see the nuance, right?
Exactly.
And then there's
someone may word something. Someone may think, well, let me skip through this part where we're behind on time, or then another person may deliver it to you in a different way that sinks in. So there's nothing wrong with going to both.
And there's always the opportunity the students can ask a question that is useful, and like you said, they'll sometimes you'll be in a room of people who they assume know, so they kind of skim over, and you might not realize what they.
I would definitely do both if I had the opportunity to.
It's weird that they're saying they can only hear one person, and that makes me wonder how they're even streaming this. We all come from different places, so there's got to be a tube coming from each of us to somewhere, right? And then it somehow uses YouTube magic to mix us all together. But I assumed once it was all mixed together, it was one stream going out to the end.
Hey, G, I just posted a link in the side chat.
Yeah.
It's a Google Hangouts status map. And it's got various areas of the country right now that are having Hangouts issues. So that might explain why you can't hear some people and can't hear others.
But still, I'm saying if it was all one stream, then you'd only hear, well, I guess you'd only hear one person because they were talking at a time, like they're hearing portions. I was just wondering if they're literally running each of them.
What if the other people aren't getting in? Their stream isn't making it to the point to go back out.
What I was hearing is when there was various conversations, we were only hearing Dano's responses, which was weird.
Yeah, because Chicago seems like, here, I'll put this map up on the screen. It looks like Dano's in one of the orange sections, so it's weird. And I'm in the yellow section.
I'm in the yellow section.
Oh look, they shut us all down. They got Dead Horse, they got Zorro, they got me, they got Gary, kinda.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got Ballistic.
I'm clear.
You got me way up here.
Yeah. So the Sarge is the only one skirting out of it.
Yeah.
You're not near one of these yellow dots?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised they're not hearing you only. But that's weird. I didn't even know they had a thing. Is this a real Google thing?
It's from a website called downdetector.com. I don't know where they're getting their data from.
Well, if you heard it on the internet, it must be true.
Look,
Absolutely.
It's a map, Dano, and it's got a bunch of smudges on it. How can they fake that?
Yeah, that's funny. Dano just said that, and that his line's the only one that's came through. Everybody else is silent. It's really weird. It's the Dano show.
So, Dead Horse brought up a good point about how do you prepare mentally? And, Sarge rightly pointed out you don't. However, in every class I've been to where that question was asked, the answer was always the same, that your instinct will kick in. Well, that actually happened to me when I did the Heimlich maneuver on a 19-month-old. I was at a friend's house. She had a little toddler barely walking. The little girl came walking up to us. We're sitting on the couch, and she's pointing at her mouth, and her face is turning red. Now, her mother's a nurse, right? And she goes, my God, she's not breathing. In an instant, I snatched the little girl up, threw her on top of the heel of my palm, piece of candy goes flying. It was literally over in 2 seconds. I didn't think about it. It's not something I planned for. It's like they said, my instincts just took over. It just happened.
Had the same thing happen to my aunt not too long ago. She was in a restaurant and a kid, little toddler, I guess, a little over a year old or something like that, was in its mom's arms. The mom was on a cell phone or something, or distracted talking to somebody in the restaurant. And the kid started eating a receipt, like one of those big long receipts, from their cash register. And the mother did not react well at all. My aunt said that she went, "Oh my God, my child," and that's all she said. And my aunt immediately just grabbed the kid, turned her upside down, and smacked her on the back, and out came the receipt. So I guess it just comes down to the type of person you are too.
That when it happened to your aunt, that she was choking on a piece of candy as a child, and some guy came over. Would I interrupt, Woods?
Oh, are you talking to me?
No, you said something about a piece of candy and my aunt. G Webbs.
What, am I breaking up?
No, the candy was my story.
I know. And when Ballistic started saying that the same thing happened to his aunt, I was going to say, I was expecting him to say when his aunt was a little girl, she was sucking on a piece of candy, and then this guy came over.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now we got it tied together. Did I interrupt somebody there? Was somebody going to say something?
No, that was it. I was saying I guess there are those types of people who are going to react.
If they're only hearing Al and Dano, you guys should say weird things like a stapler and a pickle, or like
No, we just started hearing Alan Ballistic, and then we started picking up you two, so I think we're getting everybody in now.
So it's working now?
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just heard myself come through, so I think we're all on now.
One thing you can find out if you're squeamish is you can watch videos of surgeries.
It sucks that it had to go out like that on the time we decided to have the big multi-thousands of dollars giveaway. So the winners had to be present. Unfortunately, they didn't answer the questions. It was pretty easy.
Hey, y'all missed it. Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Must
20
be
will have.
present to win.
I'd like to thank everybody for all the firearms that'll be showing up at my FFL shortly, and greatly appreciated. Y'all have a good 2019, and we'll catch you next year for next year's competition.
Dano just hacks the planet to win all those guns. Then all right. So yesterday, or whatever day it was, I asked everybody, price is no object. We're going to have a panels meetup. And some of these people are in here, and you're going to get to answer. Again, you don't have to answer the same way. Marco could not grasp the idea of price is no object. So I want to try it again tonight. Price is no object. We're going to have a gun channels meetup. So as many people, price is no object. As many people can show up as we want, and they can do whatever we're going to do. Al, where are we going?
Colorado.
Colorado. What's going on? What are we doing there?
Well, it's your meetup. You just said, where are we going?
All right. Ballistic, you got it? Where are we going?
Somewhere in the East Coast, maybe. Lower East, middle to lower East Coast, or either Arizona.
And then what are we doing?
Now, Arizona's like the mecca of guns, so there's plenty to do there. But as far as like just having a meetup, well, if you're going somewhere like Arizona, you can go hang out with some guys from the website and go to different museums or whatever. Go see gun. Go to Dillon, for example. They're out there, places like that. And then you have a range day or something. Time at the range.
Right on. Head horse. Were you here yesterday, or whenever we did this?
No, I wasn't.
So where?
I think the obvious answer is that we're gonna meet up in Ogden, Utah, and by John Browning's house. And John Browning's house will be the clubhouse, and there's a shooting range just right up the road from there and stuff, and plenty of gun stores and gun museums. So yeah,
I love it.
Ogden, Utah.
Now we're talking, and that's a practical one. The house was, you could buy it. It's for sale, and we kick all them people that's squatting in it right now out of there.
Does this need to be in the U.S.?
No, this is what we're going for gun channels. So, Gary, going with the same one yesterday, or coming up with something different today?
No, mine yesterday was pretty boring. I got to come up with something different because everybody thought mine was horrible yesterday. So,
About a minute. So I'll go to Dano. And again, I'll remind the people that are listening, hopefully you're going to be able to vote on which one we're doing here. So, Dana, what are we doing?
I'm going to go for the generic, meaning it doesn't have a name, Tropical Island Paradise, where you fly in on a plane and there are no gun rules or laws, but yet you can have a drink by the poolside, and then the other half of the island is you can have all your gun fun and then going through the jungles, going down by the beach, sitting by the range, doing whatever you want.
I like it.
That's my fantasy.
If
Wasn't
you've got
there an
money, you can do that in Jamaica.
Kind of like Fantasy Island. Fantasy guns.
Gun Channel Island. So wasn't
Yeah.
there an island in Hawaii that is like, it used to be Dole or somebody, and then so it's basically all private land, and it's possible if you had enough money to you could just buy that whole little chunk of little island of Hawaii? Or am I crazy? I thought we had that discussion with Z one time. Like other people own, there's multiple owners now, but at some point, like Dole or somebody owned the whole little tiny island. Anyway, so would we do it in Hawaii, or is that too expensive to go there? Is it
Well, you
cheaper?
said expense is no object, didn't you?
I guess, but then I guess we'd have to say expense is no object every time somebody wanted to jump to Hawaii to go to experience it.
Because then my Fantasy Island is out of the picture.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. If we put Fantasy Island in the middle of Gulf of Mexico somewhere, and like, is Jamaica faster? I don't know. I don't ever go anywhere, so I don't know if it's faster. I'm assuming it's faster to go to those.
How about the U.S. Virgin Islands? Does that make it a little bit better?
Yeah, that's got to be closer than Hawaii, right? I don't know, but whatever. You're right. There's cost no object, so we're just gonna get either a boat. I always thought it'd be cool to get one of them aircraft carriers that are decommissioned, and then just
Like
whenever
the Yorktown World War II aircraft carrier?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to have that many airplanes, but we could use it as a shooting range.
Yeah.
All right, Woods. Were you
Tonight,
here?
no, I wasn't here yesterday, but tonight I listened to some of the chat, but I'm not going to steal your idea. So I'm going to go with Belize so we can all go duck hunting.
That sounds pretty good.
Because they've got a huge amount of ducks, and they've got a whole industry, and they've got lodges and like really fancy places to stay and shoot, and it's one of my goals in life.
What Belize?
Belize, one of the Central American countries.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm down with that. I used to have a client that did what do you call it, guiding in Central America, and yeah, crazy hunts down there and fishing. Gary, you ready, or you want me to keep going?
I'm gonna go completely off the chart here. What if we had our own huge charter boat that we could all go out on, and we could go wherever we wanted to with it, and while we're in between islands or whatever, we could still shoot off the side of the boat and stuff like that. It'd be virtually nonstop shooting.
So we're talking cruise boat size?
Like a luxury, well, yeah, like cruise boat size, yeah. It's got to have a deck big enough we can shoot off of, because you could do skeet and stuff off the deck and stuff like that.
Right on. Where are we at, Sarge? Where are we going?
Let's go to Atlanta. Let's go to Varsity.
I agree with the first part, but not the second part. We can skip the Varsity.
What is that? What are we talking about?
The restaurant.
We can get the best chili dog sandwiches on the East Coast there.
You need to go to Fox Brothers, get some good barbecue. Or there's a really good old place steakhouse that DB took me and Marco and Smeggy to when we were doing the NRA show. It's pretty baller.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's also supposedly one of the biggest gun shops down there in Atlanta.
Now that I don't know.
I have no idea.
DB's always talking about, or he was always talking about it. And then isn't Glock right there?
They're a little bit
Yeah,
farther
they're down there in
south.
Smyrna.
It's a good little piece.
Oh, whatever. Compared to the rest of the country, it's just right there.
Yeah,
right.
you say that till you get in Atlanta traffic.
Doro, were you here the other day?
Yeah,
So you can keep the same one, or are you doing something different? Where are we
we'll
going?
do something different. We're gonna go to Nevada to go to Rifle Dynamics, and then we're gonna go to the island with Dano.
Oh heck yeah, let's do a rifle dynamics build class all together.
And then go to the uncharted island, the mystery island. Flying in a military airplane carrier, whatever those are called.
Al, what is this you're finding? Are you found?
So you mentioned Colorado, or I mentioned Colorado, and you said, what are we doing? Well, specifically, Shooter's Grill in Rifle, Colorado.
Armed waitresses.
Ooh.
Cool.
You guys heard about this? Remember they were like, they had like a thing, I think maybe a year or two ago. It hit the news and they made a big thing about it. All the girls carry, open carry.
I think I remember seeing a video about that. Like a little local news station covered it.
Well, I think what I'm going to go for is the Vegas. So money's no object. Everybody can get there. Maybe instead of just saying Vegas, we buy some sort of property there, either an old casino or just some big building or something, so that it's kind of like timeshares, gun channels timeshares, except you don't have to pay nothing for them because price no object, right? That way, when people show up, we got some sort of arrangement with maybe like Battlefield Vegas or one of those places where we just get unlimited shooting, and we can do all our recreational fun and around, bragging or competitions and stuff at these rental places. They'll just have to shut down when we show up and get scooted around in their Humvees or whatever cool vehicles they've got. And then we got Vegas to enjoy. And there's certainly some outdoor ranges around there. So I'm going to stay with that one. And then that way we've just got like a permanent HQ in Vegas. Obviously, when SHOT Show happens, we're all covered. Changed mine up from yesterday.
I'd go.
All right, so we're going to let everybody vote on those. And I don't know. What else we got tonight? Oh, gun shop of the day? Let's see what we got in here. Okay, so the shop today is called Shipton's Big R. And I think this was the one in Fart. I gotta remember now. I know it's in like Fargo, North Dakota, I think. Why is it opening up that? Billings, Montana. Oh, okay, I'm thinking the wrong place. So, or no, I am thinking of this one. Billings, Montana. I got the wrong thing in there. This was in Fargo, North Dakota. So I gotta fix this. We talked about this one before. Does anybody remember this one with the Ferris wheel inside? Oh, I got the wrong pictures up. That's what it is.
Is it Shields?
Yeah, Shields is what I'm looking at the pictures of. So that's why I've got it conflated or whatever. So
Yeah, we've got one in Kansas City. That's awesome.
So, well, we were going to talk about Shipton's. That's basically a ranch store, you know, like stuff for stables and all the different nylon and leather stuff you need for horses and the blankets and everything. They had all the different card hearts that you could ever want for like cold weather and hot weather. Pretty much a hardware store except like ranch hardware. But then they had a massive gun section that was kind of hidden in the back. So it was awesome. You kind of walk through this kind of interesting, you know, tack or what, I don't know what those stores are called, ranch store. And then as you kind of walk towards the back, as the store kind of keeps opening and bigger rooms back there, you turn a corner and there's this giant gun area. And they were pretty cool. They were hanging out with the people that were buying stuff or whatever, doing their business. And they let me take some pictures. But here you're talking about the ones I actually have the pictures up here of, and that's a different shop. And this one is, I got the pictures of Fargo, North Dakota, but you got one there also?
Yeah, there's one in the on the Kansas side of Kansas City. I've been to it. It's huge.
Is it this big, this kind of scale? Like 2 or 3 stories tall or whatever it is?
Yeah, because it's got the Ferris wheel in the middle of it just like that.
Oh, okay. And I know that they have like 6 stores or something, but I only stopped at the one.
Shipton's must be a subsidiary of Big R, because Big R is actually a chain.
No. I have it labeled wrong for sure. This place is called Shields. Shipton's is a chain also, but it's a small, it's like a ranch store, not a big department store like this. But I don't know where all Shields is. I mean, where all Shipton's is.
Yeah, because that Big R logo is the same logo that's used on the franchised one. There's actually one in about 30 miles from me. It's a ranch. It's a farm store.
Yeah, kind of like Farm and Fleet used to be.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Except a little smaller, I think. But okay, so that's interesting. So these Shields, though, they I guess are this large. I wonder if they're all that large. Actually, I know they're not, because I ended up going to one on the Minnesota side of the, I don't know if it's a river there or what it is, but that one didn't have guns. So I came over to this one, and wow, did it have guns. So you're saying it's as big, Gary? Did it have like guns like at least as big as a Bass Pro or well, I guess what used to be a Cabela's, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And a lot of other stuff besides. I mean, it was a sporting goods store besides that. But yeah, at least better part of the upper deck of it was guns clear on one end. Now, the guns weren't very cheap. They were kind of pricey, but they had lots of them in there.
And what I thought, I don't know if I'm going to have a picture of it in here, but I took a picture of like these like waist high little stands or counters, I guess. And you could, it was obvious if you brought a gun in to be worked on, like an AR or something, then they had all the tools. You'd like kind of like little gunsmithing stations, I guess you could call them. Like say about waist high, kind of almost like a toolbox on wheels, except nicer looking, so it matched with the store. But all the tools and little clamps and a vise and stuff that you'd need to like set up a scope or do whatever little armory type of stuff you might need to do, which is kind of cool for a shop that's all fancy like this. To have it where you could just bring your gun in and they actually work on it right there in front of you too. Does the one that you go to have all this taxidermy also in a big airplane?
Yeah, I think it does.
So
I haven't been there in a year or two, but it had a lot of stuff in it. And I love the way they display their guns.
Now this one also had a weird thing. Like this thing here is a mannequin, or like a fake president. I forget which one, like Truman or something. And then out front they had these big brass like Reagan and Lincoln and Jefferson. Did they have anything like that going on?
I don't remember that.
And then
I'm
like
not saying it's not there, but I don't remember seeing it.
they have one like in this big opening where the Ferris wheel and this airplane and stuff are. They have this you can kind of see, here's one, here's another one. They're kind of around, here's another one. And there's like a little sign there. And it's supposed to, they look kind of creepy. They're really authentic, like a wax museum type of thing. And this little card or place card thing here is going to tell you all the different stuff, about the president or what he's writing, or, I don't know, whatever. I didn't read them all, but I imagine that'd be neat for if you're a kid or whatever, or taking your kid around to shop or whatever. Instead of just being bored, they can go over and actually learn something. It's kind of cool. I never would have known something like that existed until I went to the one on Minnesota, and there was like no guns there. So I'm like, well, I might as well stop at the other one. I figured it was going to be exactly the same. And it was, the first one I went to was like all like fleece jackets and snow boots and maybe skis, but like clothing, like for jogging and stuff. Like just,
Looks like there's one in Nevada and there's one in Utah.
Ozzy's saying he's been to a Shields in Springfield, Illinois. So Tony might have been to one.
Texas, one in Texas, South Dakota.
So we got Ozzy voting for Dano.
Everybody likes Dano's idea.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
But I said you could take my boat to get to it. So you could kind of incorporate the two ideas.
I
If I
like
get to
that.
an island and I see somebody like Dano standing there saying that, I'm getting back on the boat and leaving.
That way, instead of having riding a plane and, pack all your guns up, you could actually, just have them be playing with them while you're waiting to get to the island.
Then you see some little guy say, "Boss, the plane, the plane."
The boat.
Ghost is saying by Cancun. Where's that? Mexico? Is that an island or like a beach?
It's on the mainland.
Yeah, Cancun's in Mexico.
I like the idea of buying a big chunk of Mexico.
So if we go to Dano's Island, do we have to shoot 9mm?
No. Shoots whatever.
Only if you see G-Webs. Because apparently to him, they don't do anything. So he's our test subject.
I'm going to be shooting me. Steven saying he'd been to the Shields in Kansas City, didn't know it had guns. Interesting.
Yep.
I wonder if it's like what I was saying, where they had the one basically like 2 miles from each other. Fargo's not that big. And the one was just all jogging clothes, like shoes and things. Windbreakers. but a lot of them, like a really big store with just that stuff. And it took me a while to walk all around and be like, the hell? And I went up finally and asked, and they're like, oh no, we don't have guns here. All right, well, that was our gun shop of the day. One of the reasons we do this show daily is because we want to feature a gun shop every day, and you can help with that. Anytime you, like we just did here, we can talk about shops that are chains and talk about the differences between the locations, or if you've got a shop that you've been to that was interesting or historic or old or unique somehow, let us know. You can email me at dailygunshow@gmail.com or contact anybody on the panel. We all pretty much are active online in various ways and can talk about your shop. Let's see, we also have a gun of the day. It's a 44 revolver. Am I still screen sharing? So I'm going to grab that off of the Instagrams. This is when I would hang out at Bob's gun shop, we would, I'd take pictures. That's what I do. And I did that stuff way before the internet or before YouTube and all that. And I would just take pictures and post them on the forums or whatever. And it was fun, right? I like taking pictures of guns. So he had a, whatever this is, Smith & Wesson 69.6, I guess. But I have this box of 44 Magnum from Smith & Wesson. So one time I just brought in a bunch of my Smith & Wesson ammo and then took a bunch of pictures with his guns. So that's what this is. And I think it's neat. Did you guys know that Smith & Wesson made ammo?
No, I did not.
No, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
I've got 44, 357, and 9, maybe another caliber, I forget. And the boxes are all in this condition. I think maybe 80s-ish when it was around.
So you're saying 9mm is worth something then? The fact that you're holding on to it like this.
No, I have to wear rubber gloves, and it's like they just crumble after all these years. Yeah. Like the fragilest bone.
But you still have it. That's amazing.
I do. I have lots of 9mm. I probably have more 9mm than anybody in this panel, if you want to get down to it. I did own a bunch of 9mm guns at one point. I just also inherited or was able to buy a lot of 40, and I like 42. And then I have a bunch of 45 also for some reason. Anyhow, let's talk about this gun. A Smith & Wesson 629-6, 44 Magnum. I'll just quickly go left to right to get an idea of who's in favor of this. You're getting this gun, but not free. You have to give away a gun that you like. So you'd and it doesn't matter which one you're giving away, but you'd have to lose something to get this gun. So it's not just a freebie. Are you still going to take this one over something you got that you like, Al?
Nope.
Okay. Ballistic?
Yeah, if I still have my Glock 34, I would have traded it and probably plus cash for it.
I don't even know if you get to choose the gun that they're taking, but okay, Dead Horse?
I was going to say, yeah, I'll give up any one of my Glocks for that.
You don't, so I don't know. We don't need to know the gun, so there might be something more to this. But Gary, would you give up a gun for a 629?
Yeah, none of my guns are worth anywhere near what that's worth. Sure.
Okay, Dano?
Done deal.
Wow. Woods?
I'm going to go with the Gary plan. None of my guns are worth that. What's that worth? So easy.
We're going to take the bad subject here. Sarge?
Yeah, I'm in. I'll trade.
Okay, and Zorro?
See.
Right. I guess that was a pathetic one. I guess I was expecting to see more diversity, but all right.
I feel so insignificant.
We're all sellouts.
I don't know if I would either. I mean, I don't know if I've got guns that I value more or that are more valuable, but I think I have guns that I value more, and I don't know. I'm just not down to a shit ton of them, but I mean, I would definitely just throw any shitty gun I've got into a pile to have one of these. Would you go out and actually spend a lot of money on one of these? Or do you guys like the idea of a big stainless 44 Magnum 6-shot? Or is that too big a gun to have around?
I want to get a 44 Magnum.
Yeah, I want one to play around with reloading and to hunt with. So
I have a 44 mag, but I'd rather have that one.
Yeah, what do you got?
It's a Taurus.
Yeah, these things are just night and day. You've fiddled with these before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so solid. I don't know. Is this the Dirty Harry or something? I don't know enough about them. I mean, I'm guessing it wasn't a police gun.
Well, it depends on how nerdy you want to get as far as, well, it was filmed with the 41 Magnum, not the 44, and blah, 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 blah.
But did he have a stainless? I thought he had a big blued gun. I don't really remember.
You're right. I thought it was blued.
The
Yeah, it
original
was
one
blue.
was blued.
Yeah, it was blue and the
It
barrel
was a
was
Model
longer.
29.
29 dash something, yeah.
And it was the barrel was longer.
Okay,
Like
that.
7-inch barrel or something.
But this one in that size barrel, does the 6 mean 6-inch barrel?
Yes.
Oh, okay. See, I'm learning something. And then the 6-shot 44, man, this would be a fun gun. Like that thing's gonna shoot forever. It's never gonna, the gun isn't gonna break apart from shooting 44 out of it. And it's kind of heavy. I don't know if I'd use it for anything more than hunting, but I think it'd be a super fun.
Neglect is the only thing that would ever make that gun perish.
And it would really be a while because it's stainless, right? So
Yeah.
now, does anybody have any idea what this thing costs in real life?
Yes, somewhere between.
What decade are we talking?
Now?
Now I'm talking, yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
$2,000.
What?
Oh.
No, like 700 to 850.
Yeah, I'd say 900.
Yeah, if you're buying it brand new out of the box from a big box gun store, probably.
About 750.
I don't know. I could think of worse ways to spend $700 worth of gun money. It's a fun gun. Shoot. I've definitely shot him a bunch. All right. Well, that's our gun of the day. I just figured I'd start doing that, and I'll try to remember to do it when we're actually live, right? So anything else? Anybody got any other topics that we want to chat about before we head out? Crickets. As quiet as 10 people ever.
Send me some bullets to shoot.
You know that Foos is
Him out.
with them
He
now,
had
right?
he had the gun that I was looking at.
Yeah, just call Foos. You said you talk to him almost every week, so you're in the know. You don't have plausible deniability. Just whip out your credit card and call it a done deal.
No, I need projectiles. I'm picky. I just load it myself.
Oh, you're a snob.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so it's not send me some ammunition, it's send me some particular ammunition. Otherwise, I don't want it.
Yeah, 125 grain 9mm or 180 grain 40 cal. Or
Oh,
308 bullets from our recently acquired 308 Winchester.
By the way, are you using a guide up there for that upcoming hunt?
No, it's just over the counter tags. My dad's been hunting that area for the past about 2 or 3 years, so he has a good idea of the lay of the land.
So is that like leased land, or how's that work?
No, it's over the counter, so the state manages it. You get to pay for a non-resident tag. They only draw so many. So if more people apply than how many tags are, then I may not even get to go.
So do you know for sure if you have a tag yet or not?
No, I'll be coming up in about a week or 2 now. That'll actually be the deadline. They do it pretty early, so I'll apply and they make you pay up front. And then, of course, you don't get the tag, they just refund your money right back to you. It's pretty quick.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask just that question if they had you put a deposit down.
Yeah, you pay for the whole tag in full.
So I've heard from some guys that live in Alaska that and I don't know if it's just for certain types of game, but like bears, as an example, on certain zones, you have to go in on a lottery. You have to pay ahead of time, and if you don't get picked, you also don't get your money back.
That sucks. Yeah, some states do it. Every state does it different, but not in Wyoming.
So size wise, what is a typical elk that people size wise?
To my body size?
Weight.
Yeah.
I mean, they look huge.
I think the bulls get around to 1,100 pounds, maybe 1,200, but usually more commonly, I guess, around the 1,000 mark. And then a cow, I think, is around that 700, 800 pound mark.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's not dressed.
Yeah, it's live weight.
Because I can't imagine how many sleds you would need to bring just to get that weight out.
Yeah, I imagine you probably get about 250 pounds of meat off of a cow elk. Maybe a little more.
250? It's more than that, no?
Oh, it depends on if you keep the ribs and stuff like that.
Okay. So are you guys walking and glassing and then having to drag it out? Or do you like 4-wheel, or what do you guys do?
Yeah, so it's pretty open. There's roads that go through the units we hunt, but you want to have like an off-road beat up truck. You don't want to take your nice new fancy truck through it. So my dad, he actually tows his little Toyota out there behind the big truck, and they'll drive around and get as close as they can to the areas that they want to hunt. And of course, they'll get out and walk. And you can hunt down low, where there's not much, you're not really in the mountain ranges, which is a lot easier walking. But a lot of the game is more up in the mountains. So if you want to rough it, you can hike in the mountains. And I mean, you'll spend a whole day up there, half a day, just trying to get into position. But yeah, you just walk and then glass.
Yeah, because that makes all the difference. If you're in terrain and you got to quarter it or even more to get it out of there, then you're walking back and forth. It'll probably be cold enough to not be worried about it, but you got to worry about a critter. And
yeah, it really depends on how it works out. It's like this last time they went, him and two buddies went, and I think it was one of the mule deer they shot, or maybe it was his elk. Maybe it was mule deer, but they shot it on a hill, and the truck, I mean, they had hiked all up that hill, and the truck was down like in the valley, and they just rolled it all the way down the hill. For like a long ways. I think it was like, half a mile or something like that, but it was all downhill. So they just kept turning it over, letting it roll.
So are they using just old fire roads or
I'm not really sure about that. I think they're just roads that maybe whoever manages the land put in.
timber roads?
And there's not much timber out there where we're at. It's on the east side of Montana. It's right on the line, actually. The elk tag I'll get will actually be for Wyoming. It's a lot cheaper. And I think there's more elk in that area on the Wyoming side, is what my dad said, what he saw. But
So, quick question: how does somebody, from the east, where ranges are always short, practice for long distance shooting?
yeah, find a range that shoots long range. There's one here about an hour from me. It goes to 800 yards, so I'm going to be making a trip there probably sometime this summer when I get my gun all set up and my ammo load worked up. Just go practice.
Get really good at 100 or 200, whatever you got. But as long as you're, really good at those ranges, you're not as bad out at distance.
Yeah, if you're using an adjustable scope, all you gotta do is just know your dope and make sure your ammo, of course, is consistent.
Yeah, but doing 100 and 200 yards is not transferable, and then I think I'll be okay at 800.
No, definitely not. You gotta shoot that range before you go out there and try to shoot at an animal at that range.
I'm not sure if this math works out, but if you shot 4 times at 200 yards, that's the equivalent of shooting once at 800 yards.
Is this like your 9mm math?
I'm just trying to say that you can still get some practice in. All right,
so you're on my rifle at 200 and go out from there.
Let's see who's got something next. Today's Thursday, right? So Sarge had a show already today. Do you got a show Saturday as well, or is that an either or?
It's either or. Depends on what I'm working. I got to work nights this weekend, so nothing for me this weekend.
This was your show for the week, just before this one.
Yes.
So catch that over on Sarge's channel, and then that means Gary's will be the next show, I suspect, because Tater's not in here tonight. So you already sent out a link. That was just show interest. That wasn't with topics. Huh?
Correct.
And
Could you possibly be more
so energetic? Maybe he doesn't
show?
know him. Maybe he's choking on something. Somebody Heimlich him.
I mean, yeah. I mean, your energy is overwhelming, Gary.
I'm sorry.
Like, I'm starting a new show. If anyone would please watch it, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes. Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, Foul Territory. Check it out on the gun channels, or if you must, watch it on YouTube.
Please don't hate me.
All right, so then
You won't hate me.
we'll be back tomorrow after that, and
They can
then
hate me as long as I watch.
we got Travis on Saturday, or did he say something about missing a week or something? Is he moving, traveling, or something?
I think he's out hunting with Sandhills, isn't he, this weekend?
He said he was going deer hunting, and then he said the show may be a little bit delayed.
That's what I
Then
thought.
I heard tonight that he might be doing it live from his deer blind. So I don't know. It's going to be on Saturday at some point. Saturday
That's
morning.
what he said. Is it's still going to be a show, just maybe not at the same time, right? That's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm headed out, guys. I enjoyed it. Hope I'll be back soon.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in, man.
All right.
Good night, ballistics.
So he just jumped out, or he's jumping out. I'm not screen sharing, am I? I'm going to go over here. And one of the things we talk about occasionally is what people's number is over on Gun Channel. So it's basically a giant user system. So that means there's some database somewhere Night Strike's in charge of. So, it'll have all the numbers in there. And that means you got a number somewhere. That's how databases work. So I was just going to go in here and take a look and see what his. Anybody want to care to guess what ballistics number might be?
300 and something.
I guess I'll do it this way. The audience, of course, this is supposed to be an interactive thing, and you guys have been participating quite a bit. So we'll take some guesses here, and we'll let somebody record it, I guess, as they're saying it, and then we'll let the audience go high or low. So whatever the range is in here, we'll let the audience take the top or the bottom, depending on what they want. And then we've got 2 audiences, right? Gun channels. So, Al, what are you thinking? Ballistics, member number over on gun channels.
38.
Oh, thanks.
I can't tell you because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, okay, so he's cheating. So
That'd be
dead horse.
cheating.
Yeah, dead horse.
I said, like 300 and something?
Okay, well, come on, you can't say 3 something.
Like 364?
Okay, Gary.
45.
Dano, what'd you say?
38.
Okay, so now we're 38 to 360 something. Woods.
100, and I'm writing them down.
Okay, Sarge, got any guesses?
What was the question again?
The guy that just left was one of the original Gun Channel's crew, and I just was for shits and giggles asking people if they want to guess what his member number over on Gun Channels is.
Oh, I will say 99.
Okay, you pulling the prices right on him, and then Zorro, what do you think?
25.
Oh snap! So Zorro's at the low end, and then we'll see what we'll give him a second for the thing. Now you guys get to pick. What is the range? 14 to 365.
Who said 14?
What did Zorro say?
25.
25.
25 to 365.
Yeah, 364.
So they got either the high end or the low end to pick one. But now I'll just give them a second there for the lag. Does everybody know their member numbers now?
No.
I don't remember. I wrote it down.
I don't remember mine.
I remember mine.
Oh, Gary in here.
No.
Gary 5570.
Okay.
Large is 5894. We got Zorro is 6392. What else we got? Woods is 6365. And who are we missing? Al?
Worse.
Trying to do them in order.
3312.
Your 3312 dead horse is, oh, here he is, 1134. And Dano should have had another one. Why isn't, oh, I gotta put Dano in there maybe. Is it an O or a 0, Dano?
It's
A no.
Oh.
Dano is 67. So now we'll go out to the thing, and nobody's saying up or down on either side. So anyway, I think I slipped it whenever I said it. It was like 14, right, Al?
Right.
Yeah. Ballistic was like probably the first couple of days when we built the thing. He was in the original chats when we were getting sick of like the Google's push to Google Plus. I'll have to do that on a Monday. I went recently through my Google Plus over the holidays here and like trashed out all the crap that was in there. It took a while. There's not an efficient way to do it. I don't know anybody else that might have set up a Google Plus back in the day, one of those Google Plus communities, how they tried to force us to do. And they literally forced us to do. And it's been sitting over there festering. It was just full of like all this foreign spam and garbage and stuff. And then a bunch of people that were just posting weird, sales for guns and stuff. And I'm thinking, soon as Google would have saw that, they probably would have freaked out seeing, stuff linking to gun sites or whatever. So it took me a while. I had to like manually delete it, like 60 at a time. It took forever. So I'm probably going to address that some Monday. I don't know if anybody's got one of them Google Plus accounts hanging out open, but I eventually figured out how to shut it so where nobody could post anything without me knowing first, or like it alerting me, so I could basically decide to delete it first. But,
So, hey, I got some member trivia for the audience. So you had the first two accounts, right? Who was the first member besides G to have an account on Gun Channels?
we've talked about it before, so
That would be the guy that helped him put it together.
nope. It's a different dude. You know him. Everybody knows him. And he's the third member on More Than That platform.
You mean it wasn't Dave?
No, he was like 7th or some shit. In fact, we talked about him today. We talked about him in this chat
I'm
earlier.
gonna go with Hosh.
Nope, we don't think we talked about Hosh. And Hosh was right away, though. I already shut my window there. Yeah.
Marco.
Nope. It was
Bob?
DB Cooper. Whoever this is on the YouTube side figured it out. DB Cooper.
The only reason I wasn't sooner is because somebody just mentioned it like haphazardly back in the day, and I'm like, well, what's this thing called Gun Channels? Nobody said anything to me.
Oh yeah, we talked about it in the chat, and like hours later, Gun Channels existed. I don't fart around. And then we started letting people in after maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's like suddenly I'm at the end of the line.
But yeah, it was a massive pile because, like I say, we just sort of set it up. It was around for maybe a day or two, and then I was like, all right, let's open the doors. So there's a whole bunch of people. Like it was like 2 or 3 days, if I remember right, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole bunch of people in like one day.
I think they ought to be renumbered and to take out the people that haven't been logged on, and let's say in over a year, and then I should be issued a new number.
I'm gonna default to Al. I would suspect there's got to be a whole art and talent to database management, and I'm barely aware of it. Not at the level of being like having the finesse to fiddle with databases that are that level.
I'm just thinking there's got to be a way I can get lower than 67.
Well, it does some sort of thing where it kills the numbers when somebody leaves or kills their account or whatever. Like that number goes with them so that it doesn't screw up the whole thing. So it's not like they shuffle down or anything.
Right, but then they're kept as blank spot holders.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even, like I say, I'm not at that level.
Although my number is 67, there are not actually 66 people using Gun Channels ahead of me.
No, and if I had time, that'd be kind of neat to sometime go through and figure out, like, of the remaining members who still have memberships or whatever, like, what order we're in. Because it would be different. You'd probably be, like, in the top 10, I'm sure. Anyway, that's a little reminiscent. And like I was saying, at first I had this room open for a while. I was watching this incredibly awesome movie. I shouldn't even talk about it because we've been going for a while. But Matt talked about it the other day, and so that got me curious, and I saw it. So I've been watching it, and it's on Netflix, and it is freaking awesome. So anyway, nobody was in here, so I thought I was going to be just running the chat by myself, and I was going to play chat number 1. I found that when I was digging around trying to. I guess I can talk about that. It's my show. I was farting around with the actual show's website, right? Daily Gun Show, and I noticed that I didn't really have a good main page on the show. On the website, I never really paid attention. So I had written on there, since March 2016. But anyway, I decided to go back and fill out some stuff, and I found the original show, and I just stuck it over on Gunstreamer. So if anybody wants to watch the first time on March, I think it was March 6th or something, March 8th, 2016, when me and Bob sat down, I think it was like at noon or 9 in the morning or something, and started talking about we were going to start doing a show every day. And kind of weird to listen to. For me, it was weird to listen to, but I only listened to the first couple of minutes because I don't like listening to my own shows. But at some point, if you guys are interested, I was thinking I'd play the show and do it sort of a Mystery Science Theater where we just can pause it and chat about stuff, but kind of see if we're still on the track that we started with and kind of where we started from. So give us some feedback, and we'll perhaps do that in a future show. Right on. So I was kind of going through, we kind of got off topic there talking about Travis's show, Caliber Corner, will be on sometime tomorrow. I don't think Rick has said anything about not doing his show, so he'll be on tomorrow afternoon, right? unless anybody's heard any different. Rick does his show on Saturday afternoons. Is Snob doing a show? Is he still out there?
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah, he said he's going to be on tomorrow night.
Oh, why am I thinking tomorrow's Saturday? Yeah, I'm sorry. So,
I'm sorry. No. I apologize. You're correct. Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm somehow.
It's already Friday morning here.
So tomorrow it'll be the Friday shows, which we already talked about. It'll be Gary, and then, well, is there a show before yours, Gary?
Yeah, Budget is on at least on the schedule. It shows him having a show.
I haven't been looking at email if he sent an email out. He usually sends them out early if he's doing a show.
I think there's going to be a Friday night strike at 6 p. East as well.
Yeah.
So I need to get Night Strike to put it on the thing. I got Gary's show up there. So yeah, we got Budget, Guns of Gear, and then our show will be back here tomorrow. Then I started talking about Saturday. So looks like Taters does have a show up now, or a lobby open. So if you want to hang out past this one, then head over to Gun Channels, and there's a live room open from Tater Tube. Did I miss anything? Anybody want to chat about anything else or mention anything before we head out?
I got a new AR-15 lower.
From the PM State?
Yeah, where's my thing there? Hold on.
Did who the hell posted something about a $250 one on Instagram?
No. There's my new AR-15 lower.
Oh,
I'm gonna start building.
Those were a limited run or something?
I figured it'd be fun to build one.
They had the Christmas the leg lamp ones from A Christmas Story.
I saw those.
Yeah, that I like that one.
Are you gonna do that yellow or anything with like color?
But I don't quite know yet. I think I'm gonna build it. I'll probably put something in there. I think I'm gonna build it into a 300 blackout rifle for my youngest one to shoot. I think we're gonna fool around with it. He thought it was cool, so I think it's cool too. It'll be fun.
I think that'd be neat to do in like somebody who knows how to do Cerakote, make it look like a tattered yellow flag, and then color-filled critter, like snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Like a battle-worn looking kind of thing. Although with the cartoon thing, you could also go with more like the cartoony version.
Mm-hmm.
A theme or something. Well, that's what ARs are fun about, and we're allowed to have fun with our property, right? All right, well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll be back tomorrow. And Knives will have our lobby open during the day if you want to hang out there.